Be kind to one another! Roll out!
Move!
All right, so this is race number 3 of 4 of the winter series in South Florida. And what a doozy this race was. It ended very short for me, I believe 9 minutes or so. And that is because it had a massive crash in the final turn going into the straight, and it ended up having to neutralize the race, and ambulance came, and it was not a good thing at all. So once that happened, all my mental motivation went out the door. And you know, I could have had 1,000 reasons why I did not want to race today. It was my birthday. I stayed out late the night before. Yada 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 yada. Excuses. But so my race ended early. To bring up this race, we have Hernandez in first, Sebastian in second. I'm somewhere in the top 5. So our plan was to be aggressive from the start, try to get somebody off and do an early breakaway. But the field was super aggressive, and you know, we really kept it all together up until that crash. And even after that crash, when the restart happened, it was pretty much together until Hernandez dropped the Watt bomb on the perfect counterattack, and he ended up lapping the field solo for the win. So that was exciting for him, and that was kind of cool to watch, because I've never personally seen someone lap Piccolo solo. I'm sure it's been done in the past, but to watch his commitment when he went, pretty solid effort. From there, you had Sebastian that kind of seemed like he was playing smart and positioning himself correctly through the race and not trying to use a whole lot of energy. And it came down to a field sprint for second place, which was a big field sprint, meaning that the points that we needed was there, and we needed to get second. We fell short, and we did get third. So I believe going into race 4, we will now be tied for second or third. I'm not too sure. With me getting a DNF, that bumped me down to 7th place, which is okay. I will just have some work to do on race number 4 and kind of get a strategy. But to this race, so early on, 2 minutes into the race, we have one guy up the road, and I can see he's kind of dropping off the back, so he's not fully committed in that. So I was going to try to counter and see if I could bridge to them and kind of use their draft to get a couple seconds to breathe and then try to go solo. And I was really hoping that would work, but the field is not going to let me go. Unfortunately, maybe one day they will. And I kind of gave up, like, noticing that, you know, we had a huge chase going on. So I stopped pedaling, and then Lewis counterattacked, and he kind of realized this is a 80-minute race. Let's go ahead and just bring it back down. We'll reel them back in, and we'll start it up. So I kind of want to touch base about the crashes that have happened on this course, and it seems like it's happened quite a bit. This course is notorious for pedal clipping or just sliding out, and I think a lot of it has to do with how the turns are sweeping turns rather than really hard, like 90-degree turns. And that kind of lends you to think that you can really take these corners at super high speeds. And it can be done. I've hit these corners at 35 miles an hour and have stayed upright. And then there's times that people will dig a little too deep and slide out. Or they pedal through the turn and they get catapulted off of their bike like they're in the Ringling Circus. So I've seen it all. And with this whole neutralization of this race, what really got into my head is it brought it back to Athens last year. And I was a Cat 2, and I was in the amateur finals, and I was in a breakaway with Bruno from Pioneer Funding, I believe. And we were going into the final lap, and there was a big crash. And if you look here, I kind of took the footage from Rennan's camera from Rush Cycling Racing Team, and but that they neutralized the field on that, and I think it was about 45 minutes before the race restarted. And when the race did restart, they gave us like 5 laps to go. So you can imagine what 40 guys want to do with 5 laps to go that are all in the Athens amateur final. It was freaking hell on earth. And I got taken out with 1 lap to go. There was a Cat 4 in front of me, which unfortunately they let the 2s through 4 race the amateur finals. He ended up clipping his handlebars on the guardrail for the spectators and went down, and we were going 30 plus miles an hour. My only instinct at that point was to try to bunny hop, which turned out very unsuccessfully with me smashing my face into the ground, ended up cracking my scapula. It kind of just ruined everything and really shook me up mentally for racing. It was one of those slams of all slams that just kind of knock a couple bolts loose in your brain. So when this race got neutralized, and I kind of threw in the towel saying it's January, I have bigger plans in the future. I have Athens again, I have nationals I want to do. So I kind of just stepped back and said another day. Plus it was my birthday, and there was cake. And cake is always better than racing. So as you can see, the race stayed aggressive, strung out almost the entire 7 minutes that we're into it right now. And the crash ends up happening right now as we look at this. The race is neutralized. This is the front group, and Hernandez is calling it quits at this point, knowing that it's a long race. So let's not fly past these guys at 35 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, and end up crashing again. So that's the end of this race for me. Kind of told you what happened, but going into week 4, it's going to be, full gas. We got some solid work to do. We have a plan in play to make it happen. So stay tuned. This is just a whatever video. We'll catch you next week, guys. Deuces.